Welcome to my first making video on my rolling ball sculpture, Go. I want to hear your comments. Let me know what you like or don't like about the video, maybe things I can improve. This is my first one. So for this sculpture, I had a chain lift drive in mind, but I needed to find a base. So carrying on with the bicycle theme, pedals and other used parts I've collected, I put together a base that I was pretty happy with. I like the 3 pedals on there. So now sorting through the sprockets I've got and some chains, I like the idea of a larger sprocket and a smaller sprocket. So I start fitting some of these things together. Finding which ones I like, which sprockets look the best, that have the best kind of design to them. And then also trying to find bearings and things to fit them. That's a big part of this process. Yeah, the design, of course, have to do everything with the design in mind, but mechanically putting everything together, finding the right pipes, the pieces of stainless, the bearings to fit, so everything will actually physically work together well. That's really important. So I've put together a stand, a frame, that I can mount the sprockets on. I think I like it. Seems to work. Sometimes I redo things 2-3 times until I get it the way I like it. Yeah, but this is going to work. Mount it like that on that base. Cool. Okay, so sprockets, chain mounted. It's a little tight at this point, but that's easy enough to loosen off a little. Most important at this point is making sure the sprockets are lined up well. Because if they're not lined up, really well lined up together, you're looking at potential derailing. Okay, now we need a drive sprocket. Got to put the motor on here somehow. I don't want to put it directly behind the small sprocket or the big sprocket. So I used another short piece of chain and a small sprocket from a derailleur off a bicycle. And here you go. This works well. I like it. Notice my coupler there of a piece of tubing. I like it. Works good. Reliable. That's most important. This thing has to work and work and work for years. Okay, ball lifts. How am I going to attach ball lifts to this chain? And this idea was going around in my head for quite a while. A U to hold the sides and one rod to hold the bottom. So the marble will balance in there, will hold in there. So another tricky part of this is all of these little lifts, these little scoops, have to be exactly the same height, the same depth. They all have to be mounted on the chain exactly the same way. Because if one's a little off, you're going to have accidents. The scoop's going to hook, the ball's going to fall out, something's going to happen. This seems to work. Okay, made a whole bunch of them. Polish everyone up. This isn't just a lift. Every sculpture, every weld, every piece has to be polished. If you don't, they have a lot of staining from the welding. For most of my sculptures, I like them shiny. Well, my customers, my clients, like them shiny. I have made a few sculptures where I leave the welds raw. But that's for effect. Okay, the little scoops are on the chain. They seem to work pretty good. But there's a lot more involved yet. Yeah, seems to work. Okay, now we got to get the marbles off the lift. This little fork with a divider. Yeah, this should do it. Here it is mounted. Still needed and needs more tweaking, but works. Here's a proper left-right switch. This one works really well. These have to be reliable. They actually take a little bit of abuse from the hitting of the marble. So you got to build it strong. Has to work every time. Reliability. Yep, important. Okay, got that mounted. Let's put a corkscrew on here. Things like a corkscrew, well, every element actually, helps define the shape of the overall sculpture. Putting this at the side gives sort of boundaries to the visual aspect, to the sides of the sculpture. Helps define it. That's pretty good. I like it. Okay, got a couple of corkscrews. Yeah, let's mount another left-right switch right here. Here's a clamp that I've had made up. This is how I connect all my straight rods. It's always best to join the rods on a straightaway. Much more reliable. And here's a little dumper. It's got a ball weight on the back end of it. It takes 2 marbles and then dumps. It doesn't dump on the first. Holds one, second marble comes along and dumps the both of them. Yeah, looks good. Okay, here's a sprocket that's going to carry the marble down a level. Had to fidget with this for a while, but works pretty good. And it's a neat visual element. Looks really good right in the center there. And a loop-de-loop. Always a crowd pleaser. Everyone likes those. And the chain's running here. I ran that chain all the time, just about, to make sure it works. Now here's the pickup for the marbles. A little fork and a stopper at the end there, the little 90 degrees. Seems to work pretty well. Now you can see better my idea for the little scoops, right? Why they were 3-pronged like that. Seems to work pretty well. All right, let's put a spiral in here. Right about there. Yeah, mark the rod with a red marker so I know exactly where to splice it in. Okay, starting to take some shape here. Starting to look good. A few more pieces to put in, but overall, not bad. I like it. The chain's running still, making sure that it's not going to cause problems. And how do you like this this bowl here? I like this one. Visually, it's cool, but it works really well, and it's quiet too. I like it. So I make a lot of the components on the bench first, then add them later. This is a little jumper with a hinge on the bottom. Yeah, and careful, a little bit warm. Flip it over. And so things like this with a hinge on them, they take a little bit of abuse. They got to be strong. Got to make sure the welds aren't going to fail. So give it a shot from both sides. Make sure that one's solid. And here it is, largely complete. I've got supports in between the different rails to reduce the shaking and movement. And this is the time where I can do quality control to make sure there aren't any flaws, just like in this left-right switch here that didn't switch. Yeah, those kind of things are really easy to correct at this point. Sometimes something's just not quite in alignment, needs to be corrected a little bit, maybe a slope on a curve can be improved. Part of the problem is the marbles there's variation in the marble sizes. They're really close, but some are a little bigger, some are a little smaller. That means weight, but it also means that some marbles sit higher in the rails and some sit lower. So the only way to really prove this is just to run it. So I decided the whole time here I was making this, I was looking at those 3 pedals and thinking, this could use a bigger base, something to sort of ground it, something for it to sit on. So this is what I decided on. It's a maple veneered piece of plywood. I finished it up nicely. And on the bottom side, I've got a little laser engraver. I engrave the name of the sculpture and the month and year it was completed, and yeah. So here we are on the base, running on the bench. Yeah, this is sort of the quality control section, and there's that sprocket spinner that in action I was talking about. And here's that bowl, nice and quiet and nice and prolonged. And at this point, there's not a lot left to do except clean off the workspace, put down a nice backdrop, set up the sculpture, and take some nice photos and video. Use a couple of sidebars to cover over the work area that's not covered by the backdrop. Check out this sprocket chime. How's that? And if you look at the black pedal arm, you'll see I engraved in the name of the sculpture, Go. I like to have it up front too, up top, not just underneath on the bottom of the base, but up top so people can see it. And that is my process. That's how I go from idea to parts and pieces to a completed sculpture. Hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, I'll really appreciate if you can put some comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. And please hit subscribe and hit the bell so you'll know when I post new videos.